Generations pass, and trade, commerce, and wars become increasingly sophisticated. The merchant banker networks across Europe develop vast financial apparatuses. New innovations and financial contracts begin to emerge. As explorers spread across the world, the trade in spices becomes increasingly large. The financing needs begin to outstrip the capacity. Yet novel innovations begin to emerge. Historically, it had been very risky to finance a voyage for spices. You would need to put an enormous amount of capital at risk to finance a voyage, and should anything happen to that ship, you would face an enormous loss. Yet merchants began to innovate. The idea of the joint stock company would emerge, where instead of financing one ship on one voyage, many investors could all invest in one larger company, the company itself engaging in many voyages, so that if something happened to one ship, you would not be totally wiped out. Companies like the vast Dutch East India Company would rise, with the Dutch East India Company becoming the largest economic entity on the planet. Trade would boom, and financiers would become extraordinarily wealthy. In England, the raw debt financing capacity of the Amsterdam merchant bankers would be on full display, with the English Civil War racking up enormous costs. And now, you're in the 17th century. The Civil War has ended, and the monarchy has been reinstated. Your kingdom is set out on its own explorational ventures, granting royal charters to its own companies. Business is becoming global, and as the sheer scale of capital is rising so vast, you have run into a problem. Taxes are just no longer enough. You are King Charles II, the newly restored Stuart King. You have wars that you would like to finance, and yet your father was recently beheaded following a war with the Parliament. Unfortunately for you, Parliament controls taxation. If you want to get more tax revenue, you have to ask their permission. And so you go to the Parliament, asking them if they can increase taxes to pay for your war. The Parliament is reluctant, and yet ultimately, after some haggling, they give in. It's not quite as much as you want, but at least it's something. Over the years, as the wars continue, you've found yourself in a very tricky spot. For your needs for money are larger and more immediate than your ability to get approvals for new taxes from the Parliament. One day, while leaving a meeting with the Parliament, you are informed of a very large bill that is coming due quite quickly. You have a problem. You look at the tax revenues that you are going to receive, and it looks as though you will be able to make this payment. If it were later. You have the money, you think. Well, at least I will. But you don't have the money right now, when you need it. And so you make your way to the goldsmiths, the only men you can think of who would have enough gold. Upon meeting with the goldsmiths, you explain your predicament. As the goldsmith listens to you, you come across an idea. Well, if you're going to have the taxes anyway, what if the goldsmiths gave you the money now, and you gave them the taxes later? This seems reasonable enough to you. The goldsmiths just want a little something for their trouble. They will give you 95% of the money you ask for now, and you will pay 100% of the taxes later. It seems to be a perfect solution, and so you begin getting advances from the goldsmiths and paying back taxes later with a little bit extra. One day, as you are about to make your way to Parliament yet again to ask for even more taxes, you start getting a little nervous. What if the Parliament says no? Your ministers assure you that you will reach some agreement. And later that day, as you leave your meeting, still without having reached a resolution, you get an idea. You're pretty sure they'll approve the taxes, and you really do need the money right now. If you know the Parliament is going to approve the taxes eventually, well, it really doesn't matter if they approve them tomorrow, next week, even a few months from now. You'll still get the taxes all the same in the future. So you make your way to the goldsmiths as you always do. You, once again, enter into a deal with the goldsmiths. You receive gold up front, and the goldsmiths will receive the future tax payments that you will probably get. You have just made a new leap in sovereign debt, selling the rights to future tax revenue that may or may not exist. And the goldsmiths only asked for a little bit more. And so, having realized this new ability, you start doing this a whole lot more often. Why does it even matter if you've met with the Parliament to begin with? If you're going to get gold for taxes that may or may not exist in the future regardless, why not just go to the goldsmiths and ask for gold? Why even involve the Parliament? As this becomes more frequent and larger in scale, the goldsmiths realize that they can't take on all of this risk. And so in turn, the goldsmiths do some innovating of their own. They begin recording these future tax obligations on little bits of wood, documenting how much the bearer of these sticks is entitled to receive. They have now just functionally invented bearer bonds. And so you, as always, make your way to the goldsmiths. They give you gold, recording how much is to be received in the future, and the goldsmiths sell off these obligations into the market. You have now functionally invented a sovereign bond market. But hold on, how are the goldsmiths getting so rich? Where's the market getting all of this money from? As this is expanding so rapidly, where is the gold coming from? So let's take a step back and take a closer look at the goldsmiths. Imagine that you are a 17th century London merchant. You have some large transactions that you need gold for. You have the gold, but you don't know where to keep it. You can't just carry it all with you. So you meet with the goldsmiths. They explain that you can keep your gold with them and they will give you a receipt for the gold. This works out marvelously. You now have a documentation that says how much gold you have. You can show this to other merchants, and since everyone trusts the goldsmiths, they can rest well assured that the gold is there in the goldsmith vaults. And so people began to trade these gold receipts. Since you could bring the receipt to the goldsmiths and get the gold, it was as though you had the gold on you, though now in the form of lightweight small paper, so much easier than bringing around gold coins. And so one day you go to the goldsmiths, telling the smith that you need gold. The goldsmith offers you a gold receipt, saying that since everyone knows the goldsmiths have the gold, this is as good as gold. This makes sense to you. Over time, you do this more often. When you need gold, you go to the goldsmiths give you a receipt. And as the economy booms, more and more people engage in this. Whenever the merchants need gold, they simply ask the goldsmiths, and the goldsmiths give them a receipt. One day you go to the goldsmiths, and you ask for quite a lot of gold. They cheerfully give you the receipt. You glance around inside, and you wonder how there can possibly be enough gold. Surely there are more receipts than they have enough gold for. So you're really curious. Is there enough gold? And well, there isn't. You see, since the gold receipts are as good as gold, everyone has come to treat them as though they are gold. And so since these receipts are functionally gold for everyone in the economy, why would that many people need to actually have the physical gold? So the goldsmith explains, why would we need to have that much gold? And you say, well, for when people want their gold. Isn't that the point of the receipts, so they can get the gold? The only reason we value the receipts in the first place is because there's gold that you can get for it. And he looks puzzled, saying, yeah, but since everyone uses the receipts, why would we need the gold? Huh, you say, accepting his circular argument. And so, the goldsmith gives you the receipt, and you now have what is functionally gold. You have deposited no gold with the goldsmiths. The goldsmiths have given you no gold. No gold has moved at any point during this process. But you do now have a gold receipt, which functionally is gold to everyone in the market. And so what happened? The goldsmiths just invented gold out of nothing. Because everyone is confident that most people won't ask for physical gold, there will be enough gold with the goldsmiths to satisfy the receipts that are redeemed. And since everyone knows that everybody else knows this, it's just assumed that the gold receipts are gold. And so now the goldsmiths can write up gold receipts, keeping a much smaller fraction of gold in their vaults, producing what is functionally gold to everyone into the market. You have now just witnessed fractional reserve money creation. And so with the ability to print up gold out of thin air, the goldsmiths became incredibly wealthy, building vast banking networks. You, the merchant, are now able to engage in much more commerce than you could before. The goldsmiths are getting rich because they are inventing gold out of nothing, using gold for such investments like tax receipts from the king, and the king is able to get what is functionally gold by selling obligations for future taxes that may or may not exist. And everyone is reasonably satisfied that the money is probably there. Or, well, if it isn't, it will probably be for you. And so, with the marvelous invention of making up money out of nothing and borrowing based on vague promises, you and your fellow merchants expand across the world, getting very wealthy in this new global trade. You have just entered into a bold new age, an age where kings are increasingly subordinate to merchants and bankers, and where vast merchant networks are spreading across the planet, beginning to build empires. A world where money has gone from real to probably, demanding only modest compensation for that uncertainty. Compensation to be paid in what? More probably money. You have stepped into a bold new process: financialization.